somewhere out there in the ASMR universe. But this was requested by one of you, a viewer, and as soon as I saw it I wanted to do it, but for some reason I just pushed it back and back, but we're finally doing it today. And as you can tell by the title, it is Death Row Meals. Such an interesting concept. If you don't know what the concept of a death row meal is, basically convicts, criminals who are sentenced to death row, so death by injection or whatnot, for usually doing, or hopefully doing, hideous crimes. They're granted one last meal before they are legally killed, essentially. And I had a brief browse of some of the options and the orders that these criminals gone for, and I think it's very interesting. So we're gonna slowly whisper through them, and I'll throw them up on screen for you, and we can just have a little bit of a discussion. I guess we can judge what people order. So I've got a few articles, there may be some repeats, but I'll try to remember which ones I've done and haven't done. So let's get into the first one. The dishes that prisoners request are often steak, fried chicken, pizza, pasta, burgers, cakes and pies, but every now and then there will be an unusual request or some other strange circumstances connected with the last meal. These are 9 bizarre last meal requests of death row prisoners you probably haven't heard about. We begin with Victor Harry Fegua. In 1960, Victor Harry Fegua, a drifter from Michigan, arrived in Dubuque, Iowa. Apologies if I butcher these pronunciations. Upon arriving there, he rented a room and began calling doctors from the Yellow Pages. Dr. Edward Bartles answered his call, and Fegua claimed that a woman needed help. When Dr. Bartles arrived, Victor shot him in the head. A few days later, the doctor's body was found in a cornfield, and Fegua was arrested while trying to sell the victim's car. That's just stupid, isn't it? He was charged with kidnap, murder, and sentenced to death. Fegua was 28 years old when he was executed by hanging March 15th, 1963. Victor Harry Fegua's last meal request was a single olive with the pit left in. After the execution, the pit was found in his suit pocket. It is believed that Fegua wanted to be buried with the pit, so an olive tree, which is a symbol of peace, would grow from his grave. I mean, it's a nice symbol. If you hadn't just murdered somebody, like, no point being a symbol of peace after you've dead. How about being a symbol of peace when you're still alive? And a single olive, what a waste of a last meal. So he likely died hungry. Shame on you. The next one is Thomas Grasso. Thomas Grasso was 32 years old when he was executed by lethal injection at Oklahoma State Penitentiary on March 20th, 1995. Grasso's execution was punishment for the 2 lives he had taken. His first victim was 87-year-old Hilda Johnson, whom he strangled using her Christmas tree lights on December 24th, 1990. Lovely. The woman lost her life for $12 and a television. 6 months later, Grasso killed 81-year-old Leslie Holtz and stole his social security check. He confessed to both crimes when he was arrested by New York detectives who were investigating the murder of his second victim. Grasso's massive last meal consisted of 24 mussels, 24 clams, a half-dozen spare ribs, a double cheeseburger from Burger King, 2 strawberry milkshakes, half a pumpkin pie, strawberries, and a can of SpaghettiOs with meatballs. I'm out of breath from reading them. He got everything he asked for, but the prison cook used spaghetti instead of SpaghettiOs. Grasso's last words, issued in a statement before his execution were, "I did not get my SpaghettiOs. I got spaghetti. I want the president like this." I know he killed people, but what a king. His last words were literally moaning about his food order. I'm sure many of us can probably relate to that. I mean, he did it right, didn't he? That is a lot of food. I'd love to know if he actually finished it all. As I said, I will include the pictures for the meals where I have them, but there's just a picture of a tin of SpaghettiOs for that one. Moving on, James Edward Smith. On March 7th, 1983, James Edward Smith shot and killed Larry Don Rose while robbing the Union Life Insurance Company. Smith was convicted of capital murder and was sentenced to death by lethal injection. Smith's mother, Alexine Hamilton, defended her son, insisting that he was brainwashed from practicing black magic and voodooism. Prior to his arrest, Smith claimed that he took part in 6 ritualistic killings where he sacrificed, beheaded and threw off a bridge a 1-year-old child. Gosh, I didn't really think it would be this dark, I do apologise. For his last meal, Smith requested Rekunda dirt, which is associated with voodoo rituals. He wanted to use it to mark his body so that his soul would move on and not stay on Earth as a ghost. Smith's request was not granted, and on June 25th, 1990, he received yogurt as his last meal. I wonder if it was a froob or a petit faloo. Just having a petit faloo before you die. James Smith was executed on June 26th, 1990. Before he died, Smith warned the officials that his ghost will haunt the prison for 300 years. It's oddly specific, James. Thank you for giving us the time frame. David Leon Woods. David Leon Woods spent an unbelievable 22 years on death row before being executed on May 4th, 2007. Prior to his arrest and conviction, Woods and his 2 friends went to the home of Juan Plasencia, intending to steal his television. They rang the doorbell of Plasencia's apartment, and when the man opened the door, Woods started knifing him. I'm going to try and tone these descriptions down because they're awfully descriptive. They stole the TV and left the man to die. But it was Woods who called the police the very next morning, claiming that he found the victim's body when he wanted to use his phone. While Woods was questioned by the police, his mother arrived and said she thought her son was responsible for the murder. Cheers, Mum. The police searched their house and found a blood-stained towel and knife sheath. Woods was then taken to the police station where he broke down and confessed everything. 22 years later, David Woods was granted a last meal before his execution. He chose to have pizza and birthday cake with his family. His final words were, "I want Juan's family to know I am sorry and I do have remorse." His birthday was 3 months after his execution. Pizza and birthday cake, I'd say that's standard, pretty relatively boring, I'd say. But, better than a single olive. Next we got Eileen Carroll. I'm just going to call her Eileen. It might be Aileen. We'll go with Aileen. Aileen was an American serial killer and prostitute, because obviously being a serial killer wasn't enough for her, who operated in Florida. Between 1989 and 1990, she unalived 7 men. Even though she claimed she was assaulted by these men and she acted in self-defense, she was sentenced to death. During her stay in prison, Aileen did several interviews in which her damaged mental state and delusional behaviour were apparent. Aileen claimed that she was abused and used since she was a young girl, and that she hated men. She scored a 32 out of 40 on the psychopathy checklist, where a diagnosis of psychopathy is everything above 25. So she passed with flying colours. Well done there. Eileen spent 10 years on death row and was executed in October 2002. Her last meal was a cup of coffee. A cup of coffee. And her last words were, "Yes, I would just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back, like Independence Day, with Jesus, June 6th, like the movie Big Mothership, and I'll be back, I'll be back." Yeah, she was definitely not all there, was she? In 2003, only a year after Aileen's execution, a movie about her and her crimes was made. The film, titled Monster, won Charlize Theron an Oscar. There we go. Phillip Ray Workman. Phillip Ray Workman was 28 years old when he shot an unalived police officer, Ronald Oliver, while robbing a Wendy's in Memphis on August 1981. Shortly after he was arrested, Workman was sentenced to death by lethal injection. He was a cocaine addict and left a wife and an 8-year-old daughter behind. In a last attempt to save his soul, Workman asked for a vegetarian pizza to be given to the homeless as his last meal. But prison officials denied his request and Workman refused to eat anything. That's actually somewhat awesome, isn't it? However, on May 9th, 2007, the day of his execution, homeless shelters in Tennessee received vegetarian pizzas from all over the country. Still insisting he was innocent, Workman's last words were, "I apologise for your loss and your pain, but I didn't kill those people. Hopefully we will all learn something about ourselves and each other, and we will learn to stop the cycle of hate and vengeance and come to value what is really going on in this world. I forgive everyone for this process, which seems to be wrong." I mean, I'm not being funny. You're literally about to die. What do you possibly have to gain by lying? I'm not saying he didn't do it because I don't know, but it seems like a very deep, sentimental last thing to say. And what a nice way to spend your death row meal, giving it away. Fair enough. I mean, he did kill somebody, so I'm gonna limit the sympathy, obviously, but can't argue with his decisions once he knew he was gonna die. Ronnie Lee Gardner was executed by a firing squad on June 18, 2010. Gardner received the death penalty for the unaliving of 2 men. Gardner's last meal was quite extravagant and consisted of steak, lobster tail, apple pie, vanilla ice cream, and 7-Up. But even more surprising was that his request to watch the Lord of the Rings film trilogy while eating the meal was granted. What a dub. Although I've never seen Lord of the Rings, please don't hurt me. After his brother's death, Randy Gardner became an opponent of the death penalty and would wear Ronnie's prison jumpsuit to anti-death penalty demonstrations. Next one, Ricky Ray Rector, Triple R. In 1981, Ricky Ray Rector, I'm going to say that 5 times fast, killed a man in a restaurant and agreed to surrender to the police. But as the negotiations were finalised, Rector changed his mind and shot police officer Robert Martin in the back. He then shot himself in the head, which ended in a lobotomy. After his recovery, Rector was sentenced to death by lethal injection. His last meal request was steak, fried chicken, cherry Kool-Aid, and pecan pie. On the day of his execution, Rector left the pecan pie on the side and told the officers that he was saving it for later. Ricky Ray Rector was executed on January 24, 1992, and then Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton was one of the people who oversaw it. Oh well. And the last one on this article, and then we're just going to go through some images. Lawrence Russell Brewer was a white supremacist who already served time for being incarcerated again for violating his his return to prison, Brewer joined a white supremacist gang. Side note, just on the note of white supremacists, if you haven't watched a video by Nico Omalana, probably one of the best British YouTubers, it's not ASMR obviously, he did a video where he pranked the leader of the KKK into giving him an interview and just trolled him. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it, it's absolutely unbelievable, it's so funny. Anyways, Brewer and 2 other gang members, okay, I'm not gonna read that. They did horrible things to somebody. Brewer's last meal request was a feast consisting of 2 chicken fried steaks, 3 fajitas, a triple meat bacon cheeseburger, a pound of barbecue, a meat lover's pizza, a bowl of fried okra, a pint of ice cream, and peanut butter fudge with nuts. However, when Brewer got the meal, he refused to eat any of it, claiming he was not hungry. That angered the prison officials so much that they ended the 87-year tradition of last meals in Texas. Whilst he was basically just doing that to mess with them, he's ordered the biggest meal of the lot. And then he said, not hungry. That's like something my little sister would do. Anyways, to sort of finish off, we're gonna take a look at a few more final meals, but without the sort of descriptions. There's this photographer called Henry Hargreaves who captured the haunting images of death row inmates' last meal requests. So we're gonna look at them. So here we got John Wayne Gacy. What has he got here? I'll put it on screen now. He's got 12 fried shrimp, a bucket of original recipe KFC, French fries, and a pound of strawberries. I like that. KFC would come close. I mean, if I could order as many things as I wanted, KFC would have to be involved in some degree. This was because prior to being convicted, Gacy managed 3 KFC restaurants. Well, there you go. I can't see the images because I'm on airplane mode. Hang on. Hopefully this doesn't create much interference. Right, Ricky. I know we've got Timothy McVeigh. So for Timothy McVeigh's final meal, he requested simply 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. That to me is an absolute waste. I hate mint chocolate chip ice cream. Ricky Ray Rector, we've had his, but I'll put it on screen now just in case we haven't. He was the Beacon Pie guy. Stephen Anderson requested 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, a pint of cottage cheese, a hominy corn mixture, peach pie, chocolate chip ice cream, and radishes. That's decent, that is. Angel Nieves Diaz. Diaz declined a last meal, so he was served the regular prison meal, which he also declined to eat as well. Ronnie Lee Gardner. Did we read this, guys? Oh yeah, his was Lord of the Rings. I can't believe they allowed that. That must be quite like a lenient prison. Oh, and here's a name that I think you'll probably be familiar with. Ted Bundy. On screen is Ted Bundy's last meal. Bundy declined a special meal, so was given the traditional last meal. Steak cooked medium rare, eggs over easy, hash browns toast with butter and jelly, milk and juice. And then the final one, Alan Lee Tiny Davis requested lobster tail, fried potatoes, half a pound of fried shrimp, 6 ounces of fried clams, half a loaf of garlic bread, and 32 ounces of root beer. And there we go. I hope you found that as interesting as I did. I think it's just so interesting, really. It really does give a bit of an indication into the minds of these, well, to put it bluntly, crazy people. If I was to have a last meal, hopefully not for a horrific crime, just maybe if I knew I was going to perish and I could have whatever I want no matter what quantity, I think it would be a cross between roast chicken. KFC, just get Mighty Bucket for one. Oh no, Party Bucket, I'm dying, doesn't matter, I can have whatever I like. And then I'd have to just have my Nando's order. Chicken wrap with double rice mash and half a chicken. Yeah, I think that'll just about cover it, but if you've got to this point in the video and you are able to, do comment down below what your final meal would be. Could get an interesting discussion going in the comments, but we'll see. Anyways guys, that's going to do it for this video. I do apologise that the videos have slowed up a little bit over the last few weeks, but I promise it's going to go back to do a week. Got this video today, which is Thursday, and there will be a new facts video on Monday. What that's on, well, you'll just have to tune in to find out. But that is going to do it for tonight, guys. I really hope you did enjoy. If you did, and you're able to, please do give it a like and subscribe if you're new.